So on Monday of this week, Adam comes to work. I go outside to take a phone call, and there's a massive puddle of water underneath of Adam's truck here, his 05 Dodge, old Blackie. So water pump time. And we wanted to do a video because we realized we've never done a video on a Cummins water pump, so that's what we're going to do for you. We chose the DieselSite water pump. These water pumps that they do for Cummins, even though DieselSite's known for their Ford offerings, the water pumps that they do for the Cummins motors are really, really nice. This is a cast iron impeller water pump. It's got a lifetime warranty on it. Comes with a new O-ring seal for it. Really, really nice unit. And just from feel, you know, seals feel good, run out on it's good. It's just a really, really nice unit. So if you're thinking about doing a water pump, something other than OE, we would definitely suggest that you take a look at the DieselSite unit for sure, especially with the lifetime warranty. The OE unit has plastic impellers on it. Those of you all that are just not comfortable with having a plastic impeller water pump, this cast iron would be a really, really nice option for you. So water pump change on a 5.9 Dodge, easy. It takes more time to get to the water pump than it actually does to change out the water pump, so just 2 bolts on it. So we're gonna put this video together for you today, give you some confidence to be able to change your own water pump, because they will fail on these trucks, I promise you, they always do. All right, so we want to talk to you about what you need to do to prep everything to get ready to change out the water pump. All right, first off, you're working with a hot liquid in coolant. So if you're able to do this job when the truck is cooled off and you don't have any pressure on the coolant system, that is the most ideal way to do it. We're aware that you may be driving down the road, have a water pump failure, serpentine belt come off, hopefully you're not on the side of the road, all the things. You need to try to let the truck cool down and depressurize as much as you possibly can. Your radiator is going to be pressurized under normal driving conditions, and if you just throw the radiator cap off of it, trying to go at it, even if you've lost a bunch of coolant, there's still going to be pressure on it. You could still get hurt. So you just got to be very careful. Try to let the truck cool off if you can. You know, if you can't, let it cool off as much as it possibly can. Be very careful opening the pressure off of the radiator to get the pressure off of it. But you are going to have to drain the coolant. So that's going to be the first step that I do in this job, is go ahead and get my coolant draining, and I'm going to take you down and show you opening the petcock on the radiator on these 03 to 07 trucks and what you're looking for. But top side other prep, we will be working around the alternator, so we are going to be isolating the battery cables. So we've got the battery cables off, and we've got our air intake out. We're going to be attacking this job from the passenger side of the engine, kind of at this angle that I showed you right here. Water pump is going to be located passenger side of the engine. We still have our serpentine belt on, and you can see it right there. And I'll just go ahead and show you the failure that we had on this one. Bearing went out of it, and you can just grab it and shake it like that. So we were destined for the serpentine belt to come off here. Thank goodness we identified it with the leak, but bearing's completely shot in the water pump, so we're going to remove it from there. But let's go ahead and show you how to drain the coolant off of this radiator. We're going to take you down. We're going to show you where the petcock is on the radiator to drain it. Driver's side of the truck, lower corner, easy to get to, which makes it pretty nice. All right, drain valve on the radiator, driver's side here, you can see it. I've already got it loosened up. Have 2 5-gallon buckets ready, because you just don't know how much you're going to run into here. So like I said, I've already got it loosened up. Be careful with this, because breaking that off can make for a really, really bad day. Ain't no sense in having to put a radiator in the truck too. So be careful with the drain plug. Make sure that you've got your lid off of the make sure you got your cap off the radiator, just to let it drain a little bit better. So we're going to go ahead and let the radiator drain. All right, while our radiator is draining, we're going to go ahead and remove our serpentine belt. We're not going to remove it, we're just going to take it off of the alternator drive there, so we've got access to our water pump. Water pump is belt driven, of course. We've got a really long 1/2-inch drive ratchet here at the shop that's got a flex head on it, so it makes it really nice to get to these with this. It works fine. If you can rent a serpentine belt tool, do that. They're thinner, probably work a little bit better than this, but this one being a ratchet and a multi-tooth ratchet, it'll really get you what you need. So it's a 1/2-inch drive for the tensioner, and the square hole on the tensioner on these trucks is out on the end of it. So we got lucky, and we hit it first time. All right. So that made that really nice. And you want your tensioner to go down, so you will be on the ratchet that will be tightening to do it. So let me try to see if I can't get one more tooth on the ratchet there. All right, just watch your wiring harnesses and down on the tensioner like so. Then just lift the serpentine belt off, and the ratchet can rest right there because it's not going to be in the way of anything. I like that because I don't have to redo it, so I can just simply drop my serpentine belt out of my way, and I've got a clear shot where we're working in here to our water pump, and then I'll show you how to get it off. So Adam and I were talking about this, and we need to show you the water pump coming out. This is super easy, but the way that I've always done the serpentine belts on these trucks, I use that long 1/2-inch drive ratchet that we've got, and once I get tension off of the belt, I let it rest against the crossbar on the radiator shroud. And that's the way I've always done it. And Adam and I were talking, and it just doesn't make for a good shot. So I went back, I took the ratchet out. So when you see the ratchet not in, that's the reason why. So what we're going to do, we're actually going to do another step so you've got really good, so we can do a good video and a good shot of what this looks like. We're going to loosen up the alternator, and we're going to swing the alternator down. And what that's going to allow us to do is that's going to allow us to just have a good shot, a good film shot of the water pump and positioning and whatnot. But this is an unnecessary step too. You take the water pump off these trucks, you can, on the 03 to 07 trucks, take the two 10 metric bolts out, and it'll actually come out between below the alternator, above the tensioner, and you can just work it and keep fiddling with it, and it'll come right out. So this will be an unnecessary step where we swing the alternator back. So I'm not gonna go through that with you. Just know we've swung the alternator down to give access to the water pump. All right, we're on the driver's side of the engine. Just wanted to show you, we just moved the alternator down. We took the top bolt out of it right here, and then loosened up the bottom one. That allowed it to get out of our way. So we did that for the shot, but the water pump will actually come out below this. But you know, either way you want to do it, doesn't matter. We just did this for the movie shot. So I just want to show you the location of the two bolts on the alternator, or on the water pump, excuse me. If you look right there, there's a 10 metric, and then below that, right here, is another 10. I'll move my finger out of the way. So we're going to loosen both of those bolts up and bring the water pump out. Now the water pump, you're going to have some residual coolant that's going to be in here. I like to take a t-shirt and put it underneath of the water pump, just catch some of that residual coolant, just to keep it from getting on the serpentine belt and having a bunch of squeaking and whatnot. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and I won't make you suffer through removing the 10 metric bolts. I like to use a 1/4-inch drive on a long socket to reach them. Seems like it, or a 1/4-inch drive ratchet, seems like that works the best. So we'll go ahead and remove these two bolts and then bring you back and show you the water pump coming out. Okay, we're going to go ahead and, I left the top bolt in it, but I'll loosen this up. And if the water pump sticks to the block, which it will, we've already loosened this up, you can take a pry bar, and you can take a pry bar and just pry it loose. Use the bottom of the tensioner to help you out with that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the water pump out, just kind of show you what you're working with here, getting it out. Just kind of got to get everything turned and pulled straight out to you. Now the surface of where the water pump goes right there, you're going to want to get yourself a Scotch-Brite pad and clean the surface up real good before you reinstall your new water pump. So we're ready to install our DieselSite water pump here. Now this water pump, again, this is cast iron impeller blades on it. There's 7 blades on this impeller. I was going to show you this, the one that came out of it. This was actually an aftermarket that was on there too, but that's a 5 blade metal impeller water pump. That's the junk water pump. So our DieselSite water pump as well. So orientation of these water pumps, you're going to see there's a long side to the water pump flange, there's a short side. The short side of the water pump flange actually goes down like this. Now this is your weep hole. That's going to put your weep hole actually going to be on the bottom side, so it's not going to actually be pointing, it's not going to be on the bottom of the water pump in orientation, but it is going to allow it to drain, of course, down like that. So we're going to go ahead and reinstall our water pump just the way it came out. The two bolts that mounted to the block, the 10 metric headed bolts, these are the same size, so it doesn't matter really where they would go back. And then you want to torque these down to 18 foot-pounds and make sure that you lubricate your O-ring on the water pump as well before you reinstall it. So we're going to kind of set you up. Not going to be a whole lot that you're going to be able to see there with the shot, but we're going to set you up and show you the water pump going back in. So we got our long flange headed north there on us. Make sure that our O-ring is on, and we'll reinstall our two 10 metric bolts here. Again, we're going to be torquing these down to 18 foot-pounds, 196 inch-pounds if you're using an inch-pound ratchet. So I will dig my other bolt up, and then we will come back and show you the tightening. Just again, 18 foot-pounds on the torque on these. If you've got a 1/4 inch drive ratchet, you can see that right there. If you got a 1/4 inch drive ratchet, it makes it nice, but we went and got our 3/8 drive ratchet. The bottom one we've already done, but so you want to alternate between the two of those. Then when you get the water pump in, one of the most critical things that you do is you got to spin it, make sure it's not making contact with the housing or anything like that. You can do this whole thing. If you don't ever put your hand on that water pump and spin it, making contact with the housing, it's going to be a bad deal if there's something wrong in your installation or wrong with the setup of the water pump. So everything feels free here. So we're going to go ahead and put our serpentine belt back on. One thing on these 5.9 motors, the common rail motors like this, if you do like we were showing you, using a 1/2 inch ratchet, a real long one to get back to the tensioner, if you go and put your ratchet in, you know, straight above the tension arm, you can stay on this side of the pulley, and then you can actually guide it into the tension arm down here, which kind of makes it nice. So kind of get you set up. This whole gap right here, this whole area right here, is really, really nice to be able to do that. So you can actually put your 1/2 inch drive ratchet in there, get everything lined up, and then put your alternator back up and tighten it up. So that's what we're going to do here. I'm going to set my ratchet up real quick, and then we're going to put our alternator back up, and then we're going to slide our serpentine belt back on. All right, time to put the serpentine belt back on. Adam comes in and he says we need to film this just in case there's a good possibility that I cuss at something. So here we are. All right, we've got our drain valve on the radiator closed, so we're ready to start going ahead and putting coolant in. Overall coolant capacity on these trucks is 7 gallons. We've got that ready. It won't take that much to refill it, like we were saying. If you did a complete flush, then you would want to be looking at 7 gallons on this. So as you're filling one of these 5.9 trucks, there is a 1/4 inch Allen plug in the head. And what you want to do is you just want to remove that plug. And what that's going to do is that's going to give you the ability, forgot about that valve, that upper valve cover. It gives you the ability to bleed the coolant system as you're filling it. So we just take that out. You just want to make sure again here that you use a good coolant. And if you buy it concentrated, you cut it with a good clean water. You know, buy it pre-mixed if you're worried about that. So we're gonna go ahead and start filling the coolant until we get coolant here at the head. Then we will put the plug in. When we put the plug in, then we'll top the radiator off and we'll put our air box on. We'll fire it up and try it out. So we're about 4 gallons in, right at it. And I just wanted to show you what that's gonna look like when you make it to the little air hole there. So We'll go ahead and throw our plug in right there. And tighten her back down and then finish filling up the radiator. All right, so we're topping off the radiator right now. So you'll just fill the radiator up until it, won't take any more coolant, kind of like this. If you've got time to just sit around and watch it, it'll continue to go down and eventually, it'll stop. There's going to be air pockets in there, no matter what you do, till you get the truck started, spin the water pump, work through it. So we're going to go ahead and throw the radiator cap on here and then put our ancillary stuff on that you didn't see us take off, put our battery cables back on, air box back on, all the like. Then we'll fire her up and show you what we got. All right, so this finishes up our install. We showed you topping off the coolant. We showed you how to bleed the coolant from the engine block as you were filling it out. We got our serpentine belt back on. When you first fire the truck up, you're just going to want to look for a couple of things. You're going to want to make sure that the belt is tracking correctly. You're going to want to make sure that you try out your power steering pump if you've had it off, and make sure that you work the fluid through everything. And then I'll drive the truck for probably a day. You're going to want to watch the whole time. You're going to want to watch your temperature gauge, because if the truck hits an air pocket, the cooling system hits an air pocket, there's a chance that the truck could overheat. So you really want to keep an eye on your temperature gauge for the next 24 hours. Next day, when the truck cools off, take the radiator cap off, top off of your antifreeze. You won't have any problems. So taught you, this is a really simple job. We taught you how to do a water pump. If this happens to you now, maybe you've got some confidence to do that. If you're on the side of the road, hopefully this will help you get off the side of the road and help you get on down the road. But if you have a question about changing out a water pump on a truck or any DieselSite products, just give us a call. Big thank you to DieselSite for sending us this water pump for our installation video today. So if you need anything, just give us a call. Thanks for watching.